It's time to connect to Congress once again. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rich Pierce. Today I'm joined by Republican Congressman Bill Johnson. He's live in Washington, D.C. today. Congressman Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Rich. Good to be with you.
Well, first I want to ask you about the biggest issue really around the world right now, and especially here in the United States. It's dominated talks from just about everyone. It's the Iranian nuclear deal. What's your reaction to the parameters of that deal?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, I just came from a classified briefing on the Iranian nuclear deal. Rich, and I'm going to tell you, I don't like it. Anytime the opposition is spiking the football in the end zone and cheering from the sidelines, we better look at the scoreboard because something's not right. The administration virtually abandoned all of their objectives that they had at the outset of these negotiations. Objectives like Iran should not be allowed to enrich uranium. Iran should have to comply with all of the compliance restrictions in any deal before sanctions are lifted. And almost every one of those objectives have been abandoned. This is not a good deal. Let's look at a couple of things. First of all, Iran's nuclear infrastructure stays in place. In only 8 years, the restrictions about developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, that restriction goes away under this agreement. I don't have to tell you that intercontinental means America. Who else would they strike from the Middle East at that point? You're talking about releasing upwards of $150 billion immediately to help the Iranian economy, to give them the money that they need to continue their state sponsoring of terrorism. They've made it very, very clear that they're not going to back off from their support of radical groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. I can tell you the opposition for this deal is mounting, Rich. It's not a good deal.
Well, I was just going to ask you, what is the sense from your fellow congressmen and some senators that you may have been in contact with about this deal so far?
Well, it's not a deal. It's a disaster is what it is. I mean, we're negotiating with a country and a regime that has proven that they can't be trusted. Part of the agreement was supposed to be an anytime, anywhere inspection policy so that we could get in and take a look at what the Iranians are doing with their nuclear program. And now we find out that it could take as much as 24 days from the request, and you have to request that you come in. I mean, if you're really monitoring someone that's trying to hide something from you, and you have to request permission to come in and take a look around, what does that tell you about that kind of deal, Rich? I can tell you that most of the colleagues that I've talked to, many of them on both sides of the aisle, are very, very skeptical about this so-called agreement.
We're going to totally switch gears here. We're going to talk about the Republican presidential race. Of course, 16 now people are vying for the GOP nomination. Most recently, Ohio Governor John Kasich. And what sort of dealings have you had with Governor Kasich? And do you think that he could make a good president?
Well, we've had good relationships with Governor Kasich. I mean, who can deny his credentials, Rich? He served in Congress. He certainly knows, as a former budget chairman here in the House, how dysfunctional Washington can be. You look at his credentials as the governor of the state of Ohio, one of the fastest, most prolific job-creating states in the nation, taking a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit, turning it into $1 billion surplus, lowering state income taxes for hardworking taxpayers in Ohio. Those are some pretty awesome credentials for a governor that if he can apply those same principles to being president, that's pretty hard to argue with. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the governor on everything. I don't think a one-size-fits-all Washington-directed educational assessment program like Common Core is the right way to go. While I understand the governor's position on severance tax, why would we want to tax the very industry like oil and gas that is fueling Ohio's decline in unemployment? Why would we want overly tax them at this point. So I understand some of the concerns that some voters may have with Governor Kasich, but I can tell you his credentials as a shaker, as a mover, as a get things done governor, I don't think there's anyone that can argue with his credentials, and I'm proud to support him.
Well, Congressman Johnson, I would be remiss if I did not ask you about another candidate running for president of the United States, and that's Donald Trump. Of course, he's been grabbing all the headlines, his remarks on immigration, most recently his remarks about John McCain, decorated war hero to most people, saying, you know, some pretty controversial things. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump right now?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, that's one thing that makes our country great. If you can pass the qualifications in the Constitution to run for president, and you can drum up the support, then you can run for president, and that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. As far as his position on immigration, you know, I probably wouldn't have said it the same way that Donald Trump did, but his point about needing to secure our borders and making sure that that illegal immigrants, illegal aliens that come here and commit crimes and felonies are dealt with appropriately. Border security and an immigration system that works is certainly something that we need. And as far as his comments about Senator John McCain, look, I'm a 26-year veteran of the Air Force myself. I have tremendous respect for Senator McCain. He is, in my opinion, a hero. I believe that all of our men and women in uniform that go and put their lives in harm's way and pay the ultimate sacrifice of career and family to make sure that our freedoms are defended, I think they're all heroes. John McCain is one of those.
Congressman Johnson, is there anything else you'd like to tell your constituents today?
Well, I just want them to know that I'm working every day on their behalf to create a healthy economy, one that's accountable, one that is responsible, one that gives them opportunities to pursue their dreams and ambitions on their terms, one that creates opportunities for their kids and our grandkids to have a future right here at home. We've got a lot of opportunity coming our way with domestic energy production here in eastern and southeastern Ohio. So there's a lot of work to do to keep Washington from messing that up. That's what I focus on every day, and that includes backing the administration off in their war on coal. We've got to work hard to save the thousands of coal jobs and the low-cost, reliable electricity that the coal industry provides.
Congressman Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Have a great day. Take care of that little boy.